So Mark, you've done some design work for concept cars at BMW, and this is a beauty. Can you give us a little bit of context behind the 8 Series concept and some of the things that historically that was brought in and what's new about the 8 Series concept?
Okay, what is very new first is the clear message of power and performance. And the first thing you notice is the silhouette of the car. Very clearly from a side view, this uninterrupted movement of the greenhouse towards the back in a super pure, sporty, no compromise proportion. This is really something I like. And if we go to the back, what is absolutely fantastic on the car is that we have extremely pronounced shoulders, which are clearly representing the power and the performance that the car has. And the whole greenhouse is tapering quite heavily to enhance those two shoulders. And the way that the greenhouse is coming together into this kind of a form ducktail developing to the rear shoulders, this is really a particular detail which is very strong here.
Now, we were talking last night, if you had one thing that you had to pick about the 8 Series concept as your favorite, what would that be?
No, it's exactly this
That's
corner,
it right
actually.
there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's walk around a little bit and
Sure.
kind of talk about the shut line and the front end and the air breather, how that plays into the overall design of the car.
The first thing you notice when you look at the side view is that's exactly what we want to introduce with our concept car here today. Is a new form language for BMW, and you will notice there are very few lines on the body side, only 2, but they are exactly placed where they have to be, and they enhance a very sculptural form language and side view that we have here. And exactly the 2 lines you are talking about is one coming in, very sharp line from the air breather and then running all the way through. The radius is very sharp at the beginning and developing into a very soft radius and vanishing into the rear sculpture of the rear
And that's
shoulder.
this line right here that comes.
This is the upper line here. And then we have a second line. This is a lower line also connected here to the air breather and then running all the way to the back and really structuring and defining the differentiation between the light catcher, which is very strong here, and the shadow of the rocker.
And very similar to the rear, it tapers together and vanishing.
Exactly.
So I want to come back and visit this line really quick where it disappears. It follows all the way up to the greenhouse and over, and it continues to follow.
Exactly.
It keeps going and going.
The line really starts here and ends up there, and this is what gives the strength and the length and the very strong elegance and powerful appearance to the car. Actually, this elongated silhouette is mostly given by the upper line that we are talking about.
And then as we follow the line through here and looking at the light itself, we were talking about how air travels around it. How does that work? Because it seems like it's counterproductive because it's got that 3-dimensional bulging of the light.
What is important, this very strong position rear light is clearly giving a very strong signature in terms of light design. That's why it's slightly sticking out, because the signature is coming to the top, so the top view of the vehicle on the rear is going to be very particular because of that. On the other end, we have a very sharp edge here. That means that the airflow gonna run along this blade, gonna be basically abrupted cut, and this is actually a very good thing for aerodynamic.
Got it.
Same thing here. This is the pendant on the back end, on the rear fender and rear bumper. You have a very strong aero edge here, which also gonna have a very positive effect in terms of aerodynamic.
Good. Let's run to the front really quick and talk about the most important design element that's changed so much in the design language. What's going on here? This seems like it's one piece now. It's no longer split apart.
Yeah, that's the secondary thing. The first thing you will notice when you see the car, you still recognize the 2 kidneys as 2 elements. But when you look closer, then you will notice we got rid of 2 short lines here. We got rid of the body color partition here to bring those two elements into one. And simplification, purity, reduction to enhance the character. What we get here is definitely a new monolith for kidneys integration, but foremost also a far wider appearance for those kidneys, because due to the fact they are connected, they are becoming one unit, which spreads the car and the width even stronger.
I notice the air intake is quite massive, so you've got a mixture of performance and like a Grand Tour, for example. Is that functional, obviously?
Yeah, you need a performance car. Obviously needs a lot of power. A lot of power basically means a lot of air
Right.
to cool the engine. So obviously they need some big air intakes, and that's why we have quite massive big air intakes here. Nevertheless, they are really good balance between performance, aggressivity, elegance and luxury. So that's basically the duality of the car, always bringing sportivity on one hand with luxury and elegance on the other. And I think what we wanted to achieve here is exactly this balance.
Great. And then the lights, obviously, is something that's also very special to this car. Can you speak a little about the design? Because it's extremely narrower than what we see today in modern day BMWs.
And we have the chance to get really cool new technologies in headlamps technology. So we have laser light, which enable us to get much thinner.
Now the laser is for our readers, it's the blue section of the light here?
The blue section is the signature of laser lights. The laser light is the technology of the headlamps, which is like super strong, but also give us the possibility to reduce the height.
Right, okay.
So that's why the signature is very slim. You will notice same kind of an approach as the kidneys. You recognize that as a BMW signature because you have two elements. They used to be wrong.
Right.
Step by step, they get more in a kind of an architectural, graphical approach that we launched with 7 Series, with 5 Series, with our LCIs on 4 Series and 2 Series and 3 Series. And here you see exactly the same thing. You will recognize the two elements, but this very strong architecture in the appearance bring us, our icons, so to say, future-proof.
So before we move into the interior, how much is the 8 Series concept translate to production in 2018? How much of that can you share with us?
What I can say today is clearly that this car shows the essence of the production car. So there are a couple of elements which are slightly overdrawn to make the case and clearly establish the character of the car. But basically the essence of the car, that's this one.
This is it. So Mark, we had a great look at the exterior of the 8 Series concept. How about we look at some of the other elements to spice up the interior and other changes that you can point out for us as well?
My pleasure, sure. I think the interior is, even in a more clearer way almost, basically bring the balance, the duality of sports car and luxury together. There's one example which is pretty awesome actually, is the use of carbon fiber. If you look at the entrance seal, for example, we use carbon fiber as you know it today. We add that also in the front and the rear bumper. So that's functional, that's performance, that's race car, that's sports car, tick. On the other end, when you look at this material that we choose to decorate the interior, the door trim and the middle console, it's the same carbon fiber, but we integrated an aluminum thread in it and waved it together, and suddenly the carbon fiber is turning into a very luxurious, sophisticated looking material.
It's almost art in motion itself, and it truly represents the beauty of the car.
Exactly, and it brings the sports car genetic of performance and power and luxury.
And the one thing I noticed about this design element is as I'm working towards the car, the motion is towards the inside of the car. It moves, there's movement that draws me in. I don't know if that was on purpose, but that's what I feel like.
It drives everything to the driver, and this is typical BMW. Every BMW since the 635 CSI is from the 80s. All our interiors are driver-oriented, but they're always differently interpreted, and this one is exactly like that. All the lines are basically running towards the driver. The whole dashboard is wrapped under the axis of the steering column. The middle console is very strong, showing the power and the performance of the drivetrain, slightly tilted to the driver, quite asymmetrical the way it goes fast into the dashboard, typical BMW. Yeah? What is new though, which is very important, is the digitalization. So all our surfaces which are interacting are digital. You don't see an analogic combi anymore, it's all digital. And what you see here is also previewing our new infotainment system we're going to launch.
Do you mind if we jump in?
Sure, please, let's go.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So I think overall the materials, I talked a little bit about it, refinement, precision, that's really the key. The infotainment system is very important to me because we are combining also in a very modern digital way the approach of luxury in digital. And this is a real challenge to make a digital screen looking as expensive as a Swarovski crystal that we have in the middle.
So that's this here and then also here, so
Exactly.
Swarovski crystal.
This is crystal, this is very focused. It's only this place in the whole interior where we have this material basically clearly stating a very strong highlight. So we are analogic, we're doing good. This is luxury, but digital has to us the same approach and the same importance to bring luxurious into the digital world. And that's what I have here. And this is previewing, as I said, our new infotainment system coming 2018. What you have here for the time being is the so-called comfort mode. When you get into the car, start the car, you will recognize the topology of a typical BMW information cluster. You have 4 elements. They used to be round, 4 round elements, like the headlamps used to be 2 round elements. You will notice there's a certain similarity the way the surrounding is defined. Very clearly it's kind of an echo of exterior and interior together. So very architectonic, very graphical, it's not round anymore, very structured. And here you see you have 4 clusters. You have a very focused information in the middle of the screen between the 2 main instruments, kilometer and rev counter. And here you see all informations are centered and dedicated to the driver. The thing is as well is that we have exactly what happened here, a so-called manual mode. When you go into manual, this is a sports car, so manual plays a role very clearly. Then suddenly you saw what happened, all those 4 instruments are like wrapping together, going towards the center of the display. All informations are centered in the middle of the display to make a clear focus of the information. And you saw what happened when there's an emergency coming in or an information that the driver has to have the information from. The 2 flags that we have on the side are starting glowing in orange, for example, because that's an information.
It amplifies urgency.
Exactly, and here you see what's going on. Red. This is an emergency signal. Then those flags are basically becoming glowing red to catch the attention. Because infotainment system is not only this very luxurious aesthetic with the gold signature that we have in here. It has a lot to do with safety, and therefore our main driver for all those topics is to offer our customer, the driver, a very clear safety information. But that's what drives us into the design solutions we have.
And then let's move on to the center console here. This is also now very passenger friendly. So it's obviously it's a driver focus, but this is now, if I'm with my wife and she's driving, I actually have full access to everything as well.
I have to say the positioning of the display in the middle always has been basically positioned like this, that we still have a driver orientation, but the fact that we have a display in the middle which is positioned this way brings the 2 passengers which are sitting in the front together. That's very important to us, that we have on one hand have a clear focus on the driver, but that the passenger doesn't feel completely excluded. And that's exactly what you say, that's the way you feel, so it's good, because that does exactly the job.
I feel like now that I'm inside, I feel the teardrop effect. I feel like I am one with the car, and it's no wasted space, if you will.
Yeah, the car is tight and built around you, so to say. So it tapers to the back. It feels like a cocoon. It's roomy. It's nice. There's not a huge amount of space, but a sports car is basically like this.
And I don't know if this is intended, but this is, I really adore the sliver of the air vents. I'm sure that was by design as well, to kind of mimic the width and breadth of the car, similar to the new kidney grills.
The new kidney grills, if you look at the exhaust pipes, for example, you will recognize the pattern.
Exactly.
If you remember what we discussed yesterday night, the loudspeaker on the rear of the car.
Right.
Yeah, echoing the shape. So we have the slimmer the better, of course, then it looks wider, but also those kind of signature details, yeah, we really want and definitely try to make them always copying with exterior and interior elements, okay? And that's basically what you see here.
And the accents material also mimics the exterior as well. So you're bringing interior and exterior, there's that whole cohesiveness in the design element.
This is harmony, and when we talk about a luxury car, that's exactly those details. What I always said, the last 3% of this harmony, where the things are really tailored so that it fits together, that really turns a premium car into a luxury car. And the materiality between exterior and interior, as you mentioned, the way that they are polished or brushed, and what kind of accents we have, very clearly brings the things together. I like this. I love this little detail.
Would that translate to production?
And this translates into the mirror. Yeah.
That translates into the mirror. If the mirror's not going to make it, this might not make it.
That's your interpretation of it.
Maybe.
Yeah,
the wheel seems to extend out to you as an extension of your arm. I mean, it's not just a typical wheel and you've got this coming out, but it seems like it just wants to reach out and be driven.
That's the effect. That's really the sports car feeling. That's super enhanced, and you see man-machine interface. Huh? It's called like this, all the reaction and relation between how you operate the car. The steering wheel is actually the connection between the car and the driver.
Right.
And this is super powerful because the car is
it's got a 3D depth effect.
Yeah.
It's not your typical steering wheel, and it's smaller, and it's flat top and bottom.
That's super sporty.
Yes.
And it drives driver orientation, as I mentioned before. This is enhancing quite dramatically what I said before, that everything is wrapped around the axis of the steering column and drives you into the infotainment system. The steering wheel is doing a lot for that.
It does. So Mark, I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to kick you out of the driver's seat because I think I'm going to get to take this baby around the block for a little bit of a test drive.
Look at you. That's cool.
Let's do it.
Okay,
all right, come on.
It.
Hey guys, Vincent Wu here for Slash here. I'm so excited to be here at Villa Urba, checking out the new BMW 8 Series concept, and I'm ecstatic that I'm not only going to be able to sit inside this concept one-off, I'm going to be able to drive this thing super slow, so don't get excited because it is, after all, a concept car. So let's jump in. Follow me in here. Oh. All right.
You stay on the brake?
Brake.
Okay, take the gear in.
Okay. And then, oh.
Okay, you can drive now. Very slow, please.